When we think of the PlayStation 1, we often remember the heavyweights: Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, the Resident Evil games, Crash Bandicoot. In fact, the last video I made was about those type of games and which are still worth playing today. It did make me think though, what are some of the games still worth playing now but often not talked about? Beneath the surface of those classics lies a treasure trove of underrated gems that still deserve the spotlight. So without further ado, let's look at a handful of underrated PlayStation 1 games that are just as fun to play now as they were back then. Actually, with ado, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video. Why not actually comment on the video now? Pick a few games that you think people don't talk about that you enjoy, and let's see if we match them up as we go along. And just one little note, these are in no order, they're just a bunch of fun games in a list. Right, let's go. First up, we have Einhander. I don't know if that's how it's meant to be pronounced, but I'm pretty sure that's what they say in the English version I was playing. It's a very German word, apparently meaning sword that is wielded with one hand. Made by a Japanese company, Squaresoft, with a story that's somewhat based on Greek mythology of Selene and Endymion, and set in a fictional future during a war between the Earth and the Moon. But this game isn't really about that. This is a shoot-'em-up masterpiece. Released in 1997, Einhander broke away from Square's RPG legacy to deliver this adrenaline-pumping, side-scrolling shooter that's as stylish as it is challenging. What makes this game stand out is its unique weapon system. The Einhander, I'm going to say that differently every time I think, is your ship that can steal weapons from enemy ships. It allows you to customize your arsenal on the fly as you play the game. This keeps the gameplay fresh and strategic, even during the most chaotic battles. The visuals are stunning by PlayStation 1 standards, with the dynamic 3D environments and smooth animation that still hold up today. Combine that with a killer techno soundtrack, and you've got a game that is just as thrilling now as it was back in the day. Even decades later, the game's mechanics and pacing feel surprisingly modern. The difficulty curve ensures challenge without feeling unfair at any time, and the variety in enemies and level design keep you hooked from start to finish. It's a great showcase of how innovative gameplay can transcend time. In fact, this is a forgotten genre, but if you're a fan of shoot-'em-ups or just action arcade style games, then this game is an absolute must-play. Next up, we have probably the most known game on the list, Ape Escape. While it is somewhat known, it is widely forgotten by the public and certainly by Sony, as the last mainline game in the franchise came out in 2005. There was a PSP game and also Ape Escape 3 on the PlayStation 2. Sadly, the franchise is just stuck making cameos in things like Little Big Planet and more recently Astro Bot. What's also forgotten about this PS1 originator is that it revolutionized platformers with its innovative use of the DualShock controller. Previous to this, I can't think of many games that relied on having those two sticks. If you didn't have a DualShock, you actually couldn't play this game. I remember being a kid and not really wanting to buy a DualShock. I think it came bundled a lot of the time, but I would see it in Blockbuster and I think it literally said on the box or on the back of the box, you must have a DualShock controller. And it's true, you literally can't move around without one. The game was released in 1999. Ape Escape tasked players with capturing mischievous, time-traveling monkeys using a variety of creative gadgets. What made Ape Escape groundbreaking was those aforementioned dual-stick controls. The left stick controlled movement, as you'd expect, while the right stick was used for gadgets like the net, slingshot, stun baton. It was a bold design choice back in the day, and it added a layer of precision and also depth to the gameplay. The game's colourful visuals, quirky humour and memorable soundtrack make it just as enjoyable today as it was at launch. With a wide variety of gadgets and monkey catching strategies, Ape Escape keeps you engaged and entertained from start to finish. What makes it hold up so well is its timeless charm and unique mechanics. The variety of levels combined with the sense of accomplishment you feel for outsmarting those tricky monkeys ensures it's still a joy to play. If you haven't experienced Ape Escape or it's on the bottom of your to playlist, then you're truly missing out on one of the most fun and creative PlayStation 1 titles. The third game we're highlighting today is actually a combo slot: Bloody Roar 1 and its sequel Bloody Roar 2. Two fighting games that brought a wild twist to the genre. Released in 1997 and 1999 respectively, these games let you transform into a powerful animal hybrid mid-battle, adding a dynamic layer to the traditional one-on-one combat. The transformation mechanic isn't just for show, completely change your moveset and strategy. Timing your transformation and using it effectively can really turn the tide of a fight, keeping matches intense and completely unpredictable. Both games feature tight controls, smooth animation, and eccentric cast of characters, each with their own animal form, of course. You've got wolves, tigers, bats, even a chameleon. In the sequel, Bloody Roar 2 redefined the formula with more polished gameplay, better balance, and certainly better visuals. So it's their unique identity that makes these games still fun and fresh to play today. Those transformations truly add a layer of excitement that few fighting games can match. The fast-paced action ensures that things never feel dated or too slow. If you're a fan of fighting games and want something with a twist, both Bloody Roar 1 and 2 are well worth a look. For the next game, we're going to do a quick shout out to Rednaxelia712. Apologies if I've mispronounced that. But in my previous video, he mentioned having a look at this game, Threads of Fate, also known as Dew Prism in Japan. Released in 1999 by Squaresoft, the second title of theirs making the list. This action RPG is a hidden gem that blends platforming, combat, and storytelling into one delightful package. The game features two protagonists, Rue and Mint, each with their own storyline and playstyle. Rue's journey is more serious, while Mint's is filled with humour and sass, giving you two completely different experiences in the one game. Whilst I haven't completed both playthroughs, I believe they both last around 7 to 8 hours each, which is a nice chunk of time for an RPG of the era. If you're used to Final Fantasy taking dozens and dozens of hours, this is straight to the point and doesn't overstay its welcome. Threads of Fate's overarching storyline revolves around the search for a mysterious relic that grants any wish. Rue seeks the relic to bring his friend Claire back to life after witnessing her murder, while Mint has desires of ultimate power and reclaiming her throne after being removed from her title as princess, losing power and getting banished by her sister Maya. Whilst two separate paths at the start, they do eventually start to intertwine, and interactions between the two characters weave a narrative that's both heartfelt and humorous, appealing to a wide range of players. What I really enjoyed was, rather than your typical experience in an RPG with a point-based level system that's usually used in these sort of titles, in this game your HP and MP are raised through usage in combat. HP rises based on damage taken, whilst MP on the number of times magic used, offering a more strategic and thoughtful take on your battles. Threads of Fate's vibrant visuals and light-hearted tone make it a joy to play even today. Combat is simple but satisfying. The platforming sections keep the gameplay varied. If you're looking for a charming adventure that doesn't take itself too seriously, Threads of Fate is a fantastic choice. Its charm lies in the way it balances whimsy with challenge. The dual narrative give the game some replay value, while the puzzles and exploration elements feel timeless. It's a testament to how strong storytelling and memorable characters can keep a game relevant decades later. And finally here we have Apocalypse, starring Bruce Willis, which is pretty cool for a 8-year-old me back in the day. This is a fast-paced action game released back in 1998. Apocalypse puts the player in controls of Trey, a scientist turned action hero voiced by Bruce Willis himself, as he battles to stop an evil cult leader from destroying the world. The game is a non-stop thrill ride with twin-stick shooting mechanics that were ahead of its time, which sounds weird because there were plenty of older games that did twin sticks, but the way this is in a 3D, almost over-the-shoulder view of the world that you're fighting through, with some quite innovative and natural camera movements, just really made the controls here feel like something you've never played before. As mentioned, Bruce Willis's voice acting is in the game, but not only did he just do that, he also did the motion capture, which really gives it a unique Hollywood feel that I can't think of any other games back in the day were doing. It's quite widely known now and quite widely used. But it's the tight controls and relentless pacing that ensure the gameplay never gets stale. It's just as exciting playing it now for this video as it was back in the day when I was a kid. But I do have to be honest, I have no idea what's happening in this story. It's absolutely off the wall crazy. So supposedly you're a scientist, as I mentioned, but you've become imprisoned, and the game starts you off with breaking your way out in search of your friends and loved ones. Each one you will meet quickly, and they reveal themselves to be either infected or possessed, I'm not really sure, or just mirroring themselves, but they are all one of the four horsemen. You've got war, plague, beast, and death. These become fun little boss fights that are actually over too quickly. And as you fight your way through the game, it's almost random stages being hit at you with themed enemies. The aforementioned prison, of course, but you have a futuristic city with hover cars to do some platforming on, an obligatory sewer, and even a graveyard with zombies. Eventually, you end up in the White House, of all places, leading to the final battle to stop the looming apocalypse. The game is completely mental. Sadly, the FMV sequences piecing the story together are the standard low res you'd expect from the PlayStation 1, but you have to say it's extremely creative. In researching for this video, I was actually going to present a game called One, as there are a few rumblings online of how good and unknown that game is. However, I decided to feature Apocalypse over One. They're fairly similar in terms of gameplay, that over-the-top third-person type running, jumping, gunning. However, as I was recording footage in the game One and trying to get a feel for it, all I could think about was how much more fun Apocalypse is. While Apocalypse had a rough reception at release, I find it way more engaging and a better variety. Has great elements of platforming along with nuts out shooting and blowing stuff up. And the flow to the gameplay is just top notch. Yes, it has a star-studded performance within it, but it's also more the dynamic level design that make it really feel like it's an underrated gem that deserves a second chance. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. Even in emulation, the frame rate struggles. With so many explosions and bullets all over the place, it does get a little jerky and you kind of don't know what's going on. But it's a heck of a lot of fun. Just switch off and take the ride in a crazy, unique experience. One last little bonus on this game is the game engine actually was used in an early build of the Tony Hawk's franchise, the very first game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, which came out not too long after this game, although modded and changed quite a bit. Quite funny because that engine then went on to build the Amazing Spider-Man games. Not the Amazing Spider-Man games, but the games called Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 that are amazing. Anyway, I thought that was just a cool little trinket there to go into the outro of this video. And there you have it, a handful of underrated PlayStation 1 games I think are worth playing today. They're an absolute blast. Whether you're revisiting some of these with me or you're discovering for the first time, the PlayStation 1 has proved time again that it's full of surprises. Now, what do you think of my list? Did I hit any of your favorite hidden gems there, or do you have some to suggest for me? There can always be a sequel to this video. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. There will be more gaming content like this coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.